you for coming in. Let's talk about your father's condition, first of all. When did you last see him?
We haven't seen him in, I think it's been now about 4 years. And we, even speaking to him is a rarity. I mean, we spoke to him over Eid, which was one time we were allowed to, thanks to a lot of pressure on our side.
How's his health?
Last time we spoke to him, he had an eye problem in his right eye. He's lost about 80% of the vision, and he'd been complaining about it for months before, but was getting ignored. And then eventually they took him in for some treatment to a government medical facility and determined that he had a blood clot behind his eye. So it's only now been treated later than it should have been, and it's not in good condition.
And on top of that, we have no idea why it occurred. They've given us no visibility on any medical reports or anything like that. Everything is completely covered up.
Pakistan's suddenly, entered the world stage as a mediator in this, the latest war, the one between the US and Iran. And obviously, they're really trying very hard to occupy that position and to do it well. Do you personally applaud them mediating? And does your father, as far as you know, applaud this mediation well?
Well, there was a protest actually planned by our father's party for when the delegation arrived for the negotiations in Islamabad a couple of weeks ago, and he actually called it off because his main priority is for stability and peace in Iran. So I think he would definitely applaud their efforts to mediate, but personally, I think it's an attempt, and they're doing a good job of it, to whitewash their image on the world stage and distract from the human rights abuses and the kind of insults to democracy that they've been continuing for the last few years.
So he asked for his party to call off these demonstrations, but in the past he's actually tried to mobilize people on the streets, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has, yeah.
And was criticized heavily for doing so.
Yeah.
I think at a certain point it becomes necessary. When you have, I mean, only in February there was an incident where someone just simply videoed a police van that was carrying him, and very soon after, that person, just an average civilian, was taken to jail and hasn't been released ever since then in February. So there are multiple cases of people either getting picked up for speaking out against the current regime. There are cases of people being shot down in the streets for protesting against this current military regime, dictatorship, you could call it. And so, of course, some level of protest is absolutely necessary. But I think what his thoughts were, at this moment, it's not the right time because this is for the greater good.
And do you think they're succeeding, the Pakistani government? I mean, they are now seen as the mediators in this crisis. They try again and again to get the two sides together.
Well, yeah, to an extent, but I know it's developing the whole time. I saw reports today and yesterday that they're struggling to pin down what the US position is, so I don't know. But yeah, it does seem like they're succeeding so far, as far as I've seen.
And what is your father's future, what most likely future? We know what you would like it to be. What do you think is going to happen to him?
I would like to be ambitious and to hope that there's a free and fair election in the near future where he'd be very clearly proven innocent and he would be walking free and probably would be prime minister in no time, given that he has a 95% support in Pakistan. On the other side, it's hard to see that happening anytime soon because he's been in prison for over 1,000 days. There's no sign of any kind of fair play on this dictatorship's side. And all of these cases, I think there are over 180 cases that have been placed, and every time one's cleared, they put another 2 or 3 on him and allege another 2 or 3 on him. So it's...
And just in terms of these cases, the charges against him, of corruption, they're quite significant. I mean, we're talking about, a lot of money here. What's
Yeah.
your response to those charges?
I think anyone who knows it, but including his opposition, know that he's not a corrupt person. And if he was, he could have made his millions. They've offered him many times to join them. He could have just been part of this establishment decades ago. And and now he's been rotting in prison for 3 years, almost 3 years, when he's been offered deals. You know, he could easily be living off corrupt.
What do you think the generals running the place are afraid of when it comes to him?
His popularity. Almost certainly, he's by far the most popular person in the country, and he stands against what all of them collude to try and maintain, which is this corrupt state, which is, they siphon off as much as they can and distribute it amongst those who are willing to distribute it, or share in it. And I think that they're terrified of losing that current status quo, and I don't see that. I don't see that changing unless he's in power.
What would you like the British government to do that they're not doing yet to try and secure his release?
On one side, it would be good for us to get some kind of assurance that if we were to go over to Pakistan to visit him, this is more of a personal requirement. We would love to see him. If we got some kind of assurance that if we were to get arrested or something along those lines, that they would be able to take action. The last time we spoke to them, they said they wouldn't be able to support in any way if we were to go over and get arrested, as when we did consider going over there last, or tried to go over there last, the Pakistani government said that we would be arrested. So
that's a genuine threat. You're taking that.
That was a genuine threat. It was a tweet that was deleted actually shortly afterwards. So we're aware that that's something that they are potentially aiming to do. They're refusing to give us visas at the minute. We're not able to get any kind of route into Pakistan at the minute, no matter what we try, but it would be good to get some kind of assurance on that.
It's said that they're trying, the government in Islamabad is trying very hard to get very close to Donald Trump and the administration in Washington. And maybe that's one of the reasons why they're so keen to mediate in this war. Maybe those are the people you should be talking to, Washington.
So we're very aware that, we did go over to Washington at one point. We had good conversations, and I think almost as a reaction, what the army and the Pakistan government did was elect Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. They offered all of the natural resources in Pakistan to America.
They're trying really hard.
Cryptocurrencies they offered to America. Absolutely everything. They've groveled to America, which is everything our father stood against.
So you criticize that groveling?
They're happy to become a puppet government, America's puppet in the East. And that's what our father stood against, which may have been led to some of the difficulties he had afterwards.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because that's quite a charge to make. If they're, it may well be true, but even so, by saying that they're happy to be a puppet government to Washington, which I know your father was against, that's quite a charge to lay against them, isn't it? They might not like that.
Well, to be honest, we've been to America and we've attempted to negotiate, and it makes sense why it's a very difficult decision for Pakistan. They either do what's moral and upstanding and democratic and try and make a deal to release the most popular person in the country and who's democratically elected, or they can take a very, very good business savvy deal to allow themselves to have a base in the East, which they have complete power over and complete control over, and will also gain a lot from in terms of resources and so forth.
Just finally, your father is still very popular, as you say. He's got a big presence online. Whenever something is said about him or even by him, it goes viral very quickly. Do you think that if there's no solution to him coming out of jail, that he should mobilize, or you on his behalf should mobilize his online support in order to try and get some kind of response from the government?
Well, there have actually, I think the government, the establishment in Pakistan have actually been very strict on clamping down on social media. They've been shadow banning certain people on Twitter. Well, they banned Twitter completely, and I just think it's difficult with how draconian the regime have been on people, and not just that, domestically, people in Pakistan have been abducted for speaking out against the government online. So I don't blame our father's supporters for being fearful of repercussions if they speak out.
It's not just we're not just calling for free and fair elections for the political prisoners, for our father, but in a lot of ways the people of Pakistan are shackled by a regime that is so oppressive that they're not even allowed to raise their voice for who they truly support. So it's a very, very difficult time for Pakistanis right now.